Good afternoon, everybody. This is an all-new, all-fresh episode of Batrocity. I'm Brian Taylor, and I'm going to give you some of that real talk, that real shit, that real opinionated, generalized, not feeling bad about it type of storytelling, and that's what I bring to the table. So strap on in and let's get ready to get into this. Today's episode, we're going to talk about that college bribery scandal going on with the celebrities that everyone's talking about and everyone's pissed off about. And we'll get into Odell Beckham Jr. Signing with the Cleveland Browns, which is a big fucking shock. And frankly, kind of scares me a little bit as someone who never thought that he'd see the day where the Browns look like a formidable team, you know? So without further ado, let's jump right in. Okay, so there's this story going around. I'm sure you heard about it. I don't actually know the details, and I don't care about the details that much. I just know enough about what happened to form an opinion on it. Okay, so these celebrities have basically taken advantage of certain universities, by using their wealth to get their children admitted. And a lot of people are pissed off about this because, you know, it's for obvious reasons, the reasons you would expect them to be pissed off. Like, you know, they're taking advantage of the school, and at the same time, you know, they're taking a spot away from a deserving child or whatever. That's a lot of people's take on all this, and, you know, elitism and all that. My take on all this, is that colleges and universities, especially the prestigious ones, are corrupt as it is. You know, universities in general, colleges in general are corrupt. And what I mean by that is for a basis of who can actually be students in their schools, they use testing, which is obviously just a way to determine who's best at memorization, you know, to pick and choose who's worthy of a higher education in their school. And you might look at that like, yeah, that's fine. That's not a big deal, not a problem with that. But if the goal of these schools is to educate people in general and prepare them for the real world at a high level, then there's no reason why it shouldn't be open and available to everyone who's basically able to educate themselves, anyone who's anyone's able to learn in a classroom setting, and so forth and so beyond. So it's like, I don't understand why it's only open for people who did great on their SATs, got great grades, got straight A's in school or close to it, and, you know, have all these other side accolades and things like that, and all these other participation type things that they took part in during their high school career, if you want to call it that. You know, those are the people who are generally looked at for Ivy League schools and major universities. Those people. So it's not open to everybody. It's open to those people who play the game, basically, to get in. And it's unfortunate, but it is and it isn't. So this is the way I look at it. So these universities are a for-profit business, obviously, to only allow certain people of their choosing to get in. Right. So, however, they act in the same vein. They act as if their main focus and care is education. And to me, that's not really the case. It's not really the case. That's not telling the whole story. The real aim is to frame their school as a higher end of higher education, so that way they can make more money off of people who are willing to pay and more people who are able to pay. Because let's face it, they're not just giving out scholarships to, you know, the vast majority of their students. You know, most of the people going to these schools are paying for it. So that said, it's for the rich, it's for the wealthy, you know, as it is, and it's for people who play the game as it's laid out. That's not fair, you know. It's not and it's not about fairness. So that whole thing aside, if it's already a business and it's already sort of corrupt as it is, then why are we all of a sudden acting as if celebrities using money to get their children to go to these schools is such an awful thing? It's such so underhanded that it's shame on them. It's like, no, man. If you're gonna look at it like shame on these people for using their wealth to basically play the game, play the corrupt system by being corrupt themselves. If you have a problem with that, then you need to also have a problem with the way that these schools are set up, because Joe Schmo can't go to these schools. It's for people who are either wealthy, who can afford to go and have good grades, or for people who have excellent grades, and are trying to scholarship their way in. Excellent grades, excellent scores, participated in everything, president of the blah blah, all that shit, volunteered here at the fucking kitchen for the needy and the homeless and all that stuff. That's what these scholarships are for, usually, and these schools are generally for those types of kids who are either just amazing students, or people who are students who have a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? So don't act like, no, it's not fair, they can get in here. It's the way it is, okay? So I look at that and I say, that's one side to it. That's one of the reasons why I don't care about someone using their money through unconventional means, get their child who does not have the grades, maybe, possibly, to get into these schools. Also, there's the more obvious complaint that I've had for years, and many people I've heard echo this. When it comes to these athletic programs that a lot of major schools have, obviously the students are not financially compensated, yet these schools profit off of their efforts. So from that alone, it's corrupt. And I know at the same time they try to use this excuse to defend themselves by saying, we gave you a free education, at our criminally overpriced school. At our criminally overpriced school, we gave you this free education, so you should be happy with it. We're even. That's how they look at it when they, give these scholarships to athletes. And that's obviously bullshit, because if you're so willing to give me a free education at your school, we all know how businesses work, then you're basically exposing the fact that the education that you're selling isn't actually worth near what you're selling it for. So, we all can see through the bullshit here. We all know when we're being scammed. So yeah, you can take that opinion and shove it up your ass. And that's why I look at it like, for the second reason, this is BS, man. I don't understand why people have this issue, or tend to have this issue, with rich people using their wealth to get ahead, and then saying, oh, it's not fair, when it's already unfair. It's already unfair as it is. And if you, the other argument for this, or against it, I should say, is that people say that, you're taking the spot from somebody who deserves it, but isn't everybody deserving of an education? Isn't everybody deserving of an education? Everyone who wants to go to school can't necessarily afford to go to school. And I'm talking about even people who can't afford to go to community college, which is weird, but it's it exists. People are poor. So I think a lot of people need to keep that in mind. It's not like this is an all across the board thing. So when you look at it, through a wider lens, you see that there needs to be a change at a wider level that prohibits schools from basically blocking any student who isn't good enough to go to their school. Because if you're not good enough to go to any school that you choose, then it's not a fair ground. It's not, it's not, you're not playing on fair ground here. You're not able to do what everyone else is able to do. And it's only fair if you frame it as such, if you advertise it as such. If you advertise your school with stipulations that everyone's aware to, everyone's privy to this information, then it becomes less guideline based and more more of like a known, set of rules. And these schools don't do it like that. They're very vague on how they decide who can and can't go, who can and can be worthy. So as long as you're doing that, it's not going to be fair in of itself. But this is why I see it also. When it comes, if we look even further into it, there's a lot of people who say, this so-and-so doesn't get a chance to get an education. Bullshit. Everyone has a chance to get an education. Even if you can't afford to go to a community college, I would go as far as to say, you have an opportunity to get an education. Education does not stop. It does not start and stop at school, I would say by the time you are in 6th grade, after you graduated elementary school, and gotten into junior high, you now know enough to educate yourself. You've been taught how to read. You've been taught basic math. You've been taught basic English. Spelling. The only things, there's many of other subjects that you have not learned a lot about yet. Obviously, if you're starting off a 7th grader, but you know enough to teach yourself. You know how to look up words you don't understand in the dictionary. There's a lot of things that you are already able to figure out on your own. So by the time you're out of 6th grade, you can educate yourself. And imagine by the time you're out of 12th, by the time you graduate high school, you are now really able to educate yourself for a career field, which a lot of people shake their head at and say, no, not possible, blah, blah, blah. I did it, so I know it to be true. So you can shove it up your ass. But the only things that you need to do are obvious. You need to read. You need to study. You need to do projects or whatever it takes, depending on what you're getting into. If it's a science, if you're getting into science, you need to figure out how to accomplish a lot of the feats that you need to accomplish, either in a lab or in a makeshift lab. And if you can't do it that way, then you need to make sure you're actually retaining the information that you're learning so that you can, do it in the future when you need to. Things like that. It's possible. If it's, clearly, if you're trying to be a lawyer or a doctor, you have to go to college because it's required of you, right? But most of the people going to college as it is are not going to college for professions that absolutely require them to go to college. So for people who bitch and moan that they don't have the same opportunities as people who are rich and people who are elitists and people who are very privileged, types, yeah, you might not have the same exact opportunity, but you also, if you don't have to throw away money to get to where you're trying to go, then don't throw it away. Don't get that student loan. Maybe order some books online. Order some, order some books in the field of your interest. Sit at home and study. On your breaks when you're working, study. Before you go to bed, study. Read. And if you don't understand it, read some more. Ask questions, ask people online for help, hire a cheap tutor, online who's like, hey man, I charge $20 an hour or whatever the fuck it is. I don't know. And ask them questions. Anything that you come up with is going to be vastly cheaper than going to college. So I don't understand why people who don't have to go to college to get into the career field of their choosing make it seem as if college is the end all be all. These universities and college in general is this end all be all. It's the only way that they can possibly get into their field of interest. And they don't, I don't know if they know that it's bullshit, because from an early age, we're all conditioned to believe that we have to go to college from an early age. And I mean, for some people, it's while they're in elementary school, not most, but for a lot of people it is. But definitely by the time you're in middle school, you're hearing all kinds of shit about, you're going to want to do this so that you can get into a good college. And when you're in high school, it's annoying, And it's a little bit overwhelming if you really do have the ability to ace tests and you're getting really good grades and all kinds of, it becomes a bit overwhelming to pick and choose where you want to go. So I get that, but it's not for everyone. If you can afford college, good for you. If you can afford it and want to go, and you're good at sitting in a classroom and studying every night and doing your homework really well and getting good marks on things, then shit, go for it. You know what I mean? Like, you have no excuse not to if you want to. you know. But if if college is only a means to an end, if college is only a thing that you're attending because, you know, you've been told that you need to go to college, you know, and all this other kind of bullshit, and it's not something that you really need. If you're fully capable of learning on your own, and the career field that you're trying to get into doesn't require you to go to college, and you're really excellent at educating yourself, then maybe try not going, you know, especially if you don't have the money, you know what I'm saying? Especially if you don't have the money to afford it, or even if you are earning the money to afford it and would rather be able to save the money that you're earning. I mean, there's so many reasons not to go to college. You know what I'm saying? There's so many reasons not to go. I do realize that a lot of these jobs seem to require a minimum of some sort of a degree, right? They seem to, but there's a lot of jobs. If you were to learn all the things that you need to do, all the things that you need to learn, and all the things that are essential for an entry-level position in the career field that you're trying to get into, then you can learn how to write your resume in a strategic way that shows all the things that you're capable of, all the knowledge that you have in that field, right? And all the independent projects and studies and things that you've done, and you can submit your resume to, you know, things like Indeed and sites like that, and you can get attached to a headhunter of some sort, who then, because this is the whole process, you know, they get sought out by companies to find people for them to hire, and guess what? They'll refer you to these companies, you know, if you're a good fit for whatever entry level position. And so there's ways to do this, and that's such a no shit, like you know, no shit Sherlock type of explanation there. People do that every day. Like, this is not rocket science here. This is not some sort of foreign concept. People do this all the time. It's a shame people don't do it more, honestly, because a lot of people out there have degrees and think that if they did not have that degree, they would not have the job that they are currently, you know, working. And they don't realize that it's very possible that they still could have had that job for way less money, you know, whether it's hundreds of dollars less or tens of thousands, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars less or tens of thousands of dollars less. They could have had those jobs, you know. It's a shame though, because I feel like you're preached to as a child and as an adolescent by people who went to college, people who are graduates of these colleges and universities. They're preaching to you that you need to go to college. You need to go, right? And they don't care that they're biased in any type of way. The way that they see it is, I took it this way, it worked for me, and I'm going to make sure that everyone knows that this is the way to do it. You don't have enough people out there who did not do it, preaching to people that you don't have to. You know, it's perfectly fine if you're capable of taking an alternative method, an alternative route to get to your career field, and it's more fitting for you, then take it. You know, no one, like, I can't think of a person who actually told me that ever when I was coming up. Nobody. Definitely not my parents. My parents were, as I called them, professional students, because they were always in school, like, throughout my life, from the time I was born to the time I left their house. You know, my parents were in and out of school, getting such and such degree, getting, you know, whether it was a bachelor's or a master's or what have you, they were constantly in and out of school working towards another degree. And good on them and good for them, because they were good at it. You know, they were good at being students. You know, they knew it. They knew how to do it. You know, they knew the game. They knew how to play it. They worked their jobs and they afforded it. And they preached to me nonstop. You know, you're going to want to do this, you know, because I got bad grades, man, all throughout middle school and high school. I didn't give a fuck, man. I really didn't. And to me, it's amazing, because I wasn't doing it to retaliate. I wasn't doing it to rebel. I was just doing it because I wanted my childhood, basically. You know, I was like, I want to enjoy my childhood. I don't want to spend all my time with my nose in a book, you know? And I know a lot of people, a lot of my friends even, who were really obsessed with getting good grades. But I'd never see them after school. Like I wouldn't see them after school because they were busy studying. They were busy, focusing on tests and homework and projects and things like that. And that's such a huge part of your life that's already taken out. Just going to school in general, whether it's any public school, private school, whatever, is already eating up at least 6 hours of your day, Monday through Friday. So to go home and waste more hours devoted to that school is it's idiotic. In my opinion, it's like, why would I do that? I would rather go home and play basketball with my friends outside, go home and play football with my friends outside, go out and go home and have people over and play some video games, things like that. So there's a lot of people who are fully capable of getting really good grades, but really just for whatever reason, their own interests, like in my case, we're just like, fuck it, I'm not gonna waste my childhood and my adolescence studying just to get into a school, just so I can get into a school so I can do more of this shit and all that kind of stuff, because it's the only way for me to make it. I was like, no, man, it sounded like bullshit to me, even at that age. And I don't feel like enough kids are able to think outside that box that early. Most of them, I'm not saying I was, such a special kid that I was able to do it. I'm saying that I don't think that enough kids question it. They hear these people who have done it tell them that this is the only way to do it, and they take it to heart. But for me, I had to look at it like this. I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to go to school even. If it was up to me, I never would have went to school when I was a kid. So I looked at it like, is there any way? Are all these people who are making money in the real world, are all these people graduates of colleges and universities and things? Are these all graduates? And I thought about it. I mean, I don't know when, but probably just over the course of time. And for whatever reason, I thought, no, it couldn't be. There's got to be plenty of these people, maybe millions, who are not going to college, and they're still ending up in fields that people who do go to college end up in. So it's like there has to be a route to get there. There has to be a way to get there. And common sense, at some point, I'm thinking probably late high school, told me that, if I know everything that I need to know to get this job, then there's a good chance I'm going to get it. And if they say no to me just because I didn't go to school, then I'll know that there's no opportunity. You know what I'm saying? I'll know if I keep going on interviews and they keep shutting me down because I didn't go to school, yet I know more than the person who just graduated, right? Then clearly they're biased at that point. So that didn't add up to me, the fact that the possibility that corporations could be that biased and companies and small firms and everything could be that biased. And on top of the fact that I just thought, obviously, there's people who did not graduate or who are getting jobs. So knowing all that and putting all that together, I was like, how about I just take my chances, go that route? Because it would make a lot more sense for me to just get some small job at a grocery store, some small job at a restaurant, some job at at a retail place or whatever, some job at a department store or whatever, and just save my money as much as I can while I'm still living at home and study on my own terms. And yeah, I don't think that there's enough of that. I don't think that there's enough people who look at it that way. And it's almost like being good students works against them, because they figure, hey, I'm so good at this, why would I not go to college? I'm clearly a great student. This is where I belong, and if you can afford it, or if you don't have to pay for it or whatever, then it is perfect. If it's something that you can afford easily and comfortably, then you should go to school. So whether it's by a scholarship or by having more than enough money to afford it, then yes, you should go. I still think it's stupid, but you should go. And now, thirdly, the third reason why I think it's sort of dumb is because it's just so expensive. It's so expensive. Colleges are just about educating, or supposed to be, right? So what is it that you're learning at these schools that you could not have taught yourself by going online, reading tutorials, buying books, things like that? What is it like? Are these teachers, are these professors so great at their jobs that they are getting through to you at this higher level that you don't need to worry about, like this professor is going to just cram all this information into your head? No, and I know the answer is no, because how many times have we watched these documentaries, these even fictional movies and TV shows and things like that, where these kids end up in these universities that are prestigious, these Ivy League schools, and the professors actually are the least hands-on. The more prestigious the school is, the less hand-holding they do. So it's like you are teaching yourself when you get to that level. You see, so you're spending all this money to basically teach yourself. How stupid is that? Like it's completely idiotic. It's insane. It's like, why didn't you just stay at home and teach yourself? And the reason why is because these people are like, well, it looks so much better for me to have a degree from this school than to just teach myself at home. And while I obviously agree that it looks better, I don't think that that's such a view of someone who doesn't appreciate the money that goes into it. If someone's paying for it, if it's a scholarship that you got, I have nothing to talk to you about. If you're going to an Ivy League school on a scholarship that's pretty much paying for it all, like some 4-year scholarship or something like that, then I have nothing to say to you. You are doing what you got to do. Good job, But for everyone else, which is the majority of people who go to these universities and colleges and things in general, they're not getting these massive scholarships. So it's not really benefiting them completely to go to these schools, and there's so many things that you learn in these schools that you don't need. There's so many things. There's subjects that you're required to take. There's prerequisites. There's all kinds of required courses that you have to take. And I look at that and I say, I don't want to go to college so that I can learn to become a doctor and then have to take a bunch of fucking pointless ass baking classes. I know that's not realistic, but I'm just saying, I want to take a knitting class when I'm learning how to be a fucking pilot or something. I don't know, but you get my point. Is if you're going to school for a profession and you have to take countless classes and courses for things that are just not of your interest, things that you're never going to use or need, then what the fuck is the point in going there? You'd be better off, better suited just going home and diving into all that information and becoming a guru, in your own right. And see, my goal was teach myself so much that I know noticeably more than the person who just graduated, right? That was my whole goal. And I'm trying to remember what age I was. Let's see. 14, 15, 16. By the time I was 20, I had basically taught myself enough to get an entry-level position as a developer, which was like, yeah, I can do some programming. I know enough about it, that I can jump right in and figure this stuff out. And so that's when I got my first job in that career field. And it didn't fucking matter that I didn't have, a degree. It didn't matter. All that mattered was that I was excellent on the interviews. I showed up. They asked me a bazillion questions, because that's the only downside. I'll give you that. The only real downside of not having a degree is you have to really prove that you know what you know when you get into an interview. I'm not saying that people who do get degrees don't have to go through it. I'm just saying that I wouldn't be surprised if they don't have to go through it as much. But other than that, but if you truly know the things that you claim to know, if you're not lying on your resume, then then obviously there's no reason why you would have a problem with those interviews. You'd be able to ace them, So it's a better way to go about that, and I don't see why people overall feel like they have to preach this idea that colleges and universities are the end all be all. And for people who take advantage of them, or if you want to call it that, I don't necessarily feel like that's even the right phrasing, because these colleges are taking advantage of people in general. So for rich people, for wealthy people to go in and use their wealth, use their money to, get their children, the ability to attend. Like, shit, man, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. Go for it, Okay, so I'm done with that shit. I'm done with that. I want to talk about Odell Beckham Jr. This dude, let's just from the beginning, just from the most popular part in the beginning. The guy becomes so super fucking popular on the New York Giants as a football player, as a wide receiver, because he is uber athletic, he's so fast, he's so talented, and on top of it all, he's got the personality to boot. He's got the ability, and he's got the personality to be a megastar, and he becomes a megastar. Kids start, wearing their hair, start having their hair the way that he has his hair. They get it dyed on the tips or whatever, and all this dumb shit. He's Odell Beckham Jr. He's making these one-hand catches. He's, often he practices them. It's exciting to watch. It's super, super entertaining. As a Washington Redskins fan, I'm pissed off because we got to play against this team twice a year, and it seems like every game that we play them, OBJ just burns us. And you start asking yourself questions as a Washington Redskins fan. Why is Josh Norman? Why was he so highly touted? Before he came here, because it seems like he just gets burnt left and right. Why do people love him so much? Right? That's how good OBJ was. OBJ was just, or is, he not was, but he's so good that he basically he is what he seems. He's worth the hype. He's worth the money. He's worth the hype. And in a lot of cases, I would even say he's worth the drama. So the news came out yesterday that he got traded to the Browns. Now, I don't like to talk technical bullshit when it comes to football or any sport and everything, but I heard that they traded him for a first-round pick and a third-round pick in the draft or something like that. And so the Browns gave that up or whatever. And I'm just sitting there thinking, okay, he's the best wide receiver in the league, arguably, if not, definitely. Then, okay, why would you give that up for a first and a third round pick? Like, you're not going to get anybody who's at the best of their position in either round, You're not going to get anyone who's the best in the league in their position. So why the fuck would you do that? And I believe they also, in return, the Browns traded someone, I can't remember his damn name, Jabril, somebody, some safety or something. And it's like, okay, it still doesn't explain it to me. To me, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I feel like the Giants probably just didn't like OBJ. And to me, that's a dumbass reason. Don't get rid of someone just because you don't like them. I feel like it was a personality clashing type of thing where, he was a little bit more difficult to control, and he was becoming bigger than the team and all that kind of stuff. And I'm gonna tell you, him going to the Browns, it's gonna be a lot easier for him to be bigger than the team on the Browns than it was on the New York Giants. So if the Giants were worried about that, then whoever the coach is of the Browns, some Kitchens or something like that, or Freddie Kitchens or whatever his name is, good luck, man. Because there's gonna be a lot of talent on that team, and hopefully not like prima donna types, but you got Kareem Hunt, you got Baker Mayfield, you got OBJ. Like these are guys on the Cleveland Browns now that are like, there's no reason why their offense can't dominate their division this coming season. It's kind of scary when you look at it, because it's like, dude, you guys went from being the fucking laughing stock of the NFL to potentially being a top 10 offensive team in the NFL. And no, when I say possibly or potentially, they should be with these weapons. They should be a top 10 team in the NFL when it comes to offense. So I'm excited to. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm excited to see where this leads for the Browns. And I'm a Washington Redskins fan, and I have a sub team. I believe everybody is allowed a sub team. My only rule about it is, I have a rule, right? Yeah, my rule is it can't be the rival of your team. Can't be. You're allowed, and the reason why I allow you to have a sub team without giving you any flack for it is because I'm a Washington Redskins fan. I said it the fifth fucking time. It is. I mean, anyone who has to sit through being a supporter of an awful organization, like you're a fan of a shitty franchise, that the ownership doesn't care about you as a fan, then why the hell aren't you able to have a secondary team, a sub team? Why not? You know, you can sit there and talk loyalty all you want. You think the owner is loyal to you? You know, do you think the management is loyal to you? Do you think that those players who are making their money, you know, that they earn, do you think that they're loyal to you? No. So, don't feel like you need to be, I'm die hard, I bleed burgundy and gold. No. You're allowed, I mean, and if we're being fair, you can love all the teams. You can have a poster for every team in the fucking NFL, and it's still okay. But I'm gonna give you shit for it. But I'm telling you, I would not give you shit for having two teams. So my secondary team is the Baltimore Ravens, which is, as of recent, I would say the last 2 years. And so perfect timing on my part, because no one can accuse me of jumping on any bandwagon, because I'm a Maryland fan. I love everything Maryland. So it's pained me since the Baltimore Ravens have existed that I was living by some rule that I could not like the Ravens simply because I already had a team. It was killing me, especially because they won 2 Super Bowls. So it's like, you know, I couldn't celebrate with my fellow Marylanders. I couldn't, you know, imagine how I felt, you know, sitting there being happy for them, but knowing that I can't celebrate. So I had to switch that rule up. I had a secondary team then. I actually did. But that was the real reason why I couldn't be a fan of the Baltimore Ravens, because I already had a secondary team. It was at the time, and I did jump on the bandwagon on this one, so I'll be honest about it. It was the San Francisco 49ers from, I would say, 95 to like maybe 2016 or 2015. So I stuck by them through all the shit, you know, like I didn't get to witness them do much of anything. Because after, I don't even know if I actually saw the year that Steve Young won the Super Bowl. I might have. I don't remember because it's so long ago. But certainly after that, it was just sadness. You know, being a 49ers fan was just sadness. So clearly I'm not all about jumping on bandwagons, because I have no issue being a fan of a shitty team. Just like I am now. I'm a fan of 2 shitty teams. So yeah, I don't feel bad about that. But yeah, everyone should be allowed to have a secondary team. And my friend, one of my close friends, is a Cleveland Browns fan, and she is delusional. She is a delusional fan. She's a huge Cleveland Indians fan. Like, that's her team. That's her baby. Every year it's, you know, the Indians are going to win the World Series every year, every fucking year. And just yesterday, I texted her. I said something. I had to look at it real quick. Let me see if I can find what I said, because I was in such disbelief after seeing this news that I was just like, oh yeah, I just can't right now. That's the first thing I said to her. And I knew she would know what I was talking about. and she did. She knew exactly what I was talking about, because I was speechless. I could not believe. I was like, how do you get rid of someone who is that great of a talent? How do you get rid of OBJ? How do you get rid of somebody? If we had on the Redskins, if we had a player who was the greatest to ever play his position, and we got rid of him, you know, there's no telling what I would do. You know what I'm saying? Like, thank goodness it hasn't happened yet. But to me, the closest that's come to that is when Sean Taylor was gunned in his home and passed away. That's the closest, because, you know, Sean Taylor was like a beast as a safety, and everyone saw great things in his future. So when he was taken away, it was like, damn, you know, like, oh, we get something nice and it gets fucked up by some asshole. So yeah, I looked at that and I was surprised, you know, I couldn't believe it. It sounded, I remember, because I looked at the bottom of the screen yesterday. I was looking at it was like on the ticker or something, and I was like, what? And I had to, like, you know, do a double take, like, that's not, what? The Browns? You know, like, I think that it was like 2 things that were shocking. One, that they would get rid of him, and then the second thing was that the Browns would get him. Like, it was like, I can't believe this. This does not add up. Like, you could have said any other team, and I probably would, any other team other than like the Bills, and I probably would have been like, damn, that sucks for him. Like, but by saying the Browns, I was like, I didn't know how to feel. Like, is it bad that he's going to the Browns? Is it good that he's going to the Browns? I feel like even right now, I sit here wondering. I'm like, that's so weird. That's fucking weird. Like the Browns fans are obviously elated, but do you think Odell Beckham Jr. wanted to live in Cleveland? You know what I mean? Like, no offense to Cleveland, but I mean, do you think that was like a hot spot for him, where he was like, yeah, let's do this. I'll be happy to play on the Browns. I don't think that players care about winning as much as they care about the way that they win. And what I mean by that, sorry, I'm drinking. What I mean by that is that if you could win, make lots of money, live in a nice area, live in a good spot where people hang out and people vacation, and where you can go to the beach, if like a Miami type of deal, or a Cali type of deal, even if it's like Texas or something, that's anything that has decent to nice weather, and is a nice place to live, in general. I feel like that's the kind of place that a player would want to go, usually speaking. And if they can win anywhere, they want to win in a place like that. But I don't think that they care about winning as much as they care about the method. So, like, you want to be able to win in such a fashion that you're comfortable and that you're happy. A place that you wouldn't mind to retire. So I can't imagine that he was thrilled at first hearing that he's going to the Browns. You know what I mean? Like, I can only imagine he was probably like, what the fuck? Like, like, you fucking kidding me? Like, just pissed. Especially because, New York is just such a big market for sports. It doesn't even matter if the team is shit. It's still a big market. Like the Knicks are like the premier, or should be the premier market in New York City, because basketball is just that popular in New York. So it's pathetic and it's embarrassing how bad the Knicks actually are, because of the fact that basketball is such a big deal in New York City. And as far as football goes, I don't even know the hierarchy when it comes to NYC, because the Yankees are like the most popular sports franchise of all time, right? And globally speaking, you know what I mean? Like the New York Yankees are big all across the world. The New York Giants are not nearly as much, right? So if you asked me what's the biggest franchise in New York City, I would just say the Yankees. And if you ask me second, I don't know, because football is the most popular sport in America. So I would assume it's football, especially because they won 2 Super Bowls in the last 10 years or so. So it's like 10, or maybe a little bit more than 10. But yeah, they've won 2 Super Bowls in the last 15 years. So it's like, okay, there's no reason why I guess football would be number 2. But it's like, guys, man, it's like to go from that market to go to the Cleveland Browns, to go to Cleveland. The only thing that really would make it worthwhile is if LeBron was still playing at the Cleveland Cavaliers. If LeBron was still in Cleveland, then OBJ going to Cleveland would be, I'm pretty sure he'd get over it even faster. Like, it would probably be like 5 to 6 minutes of sadness after hearing the news. And then the 7th minute, he'd be like, well, LBJ is there. LBJ and OBJ. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would be, it's like, okay, I can do this. I can go there. But yeah, now it's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. But I would say this as a fan of the Baltimore Ravens, knowing the AFC North is going to have to compete against this team. All the other teams have to compete against this team 2 times a season. So it's looking kind of sad, especially with the Pittsburgh Steelers. With all this shit going on, Le'Veon Bell gone, Antonio Brown gone. It's like the 2 most talented players on their offense are gone. Like, that's so now their production is going to drop, obviously. And then you got the Baltimore Ravens, who are using Lamar Jackson and as their new quarterback, and Flacco's gone, so you're gonna have to deal with the new quarterback starting the season. It's so fucked up, man. And then you got the Bengals, who are the Bengals, so you don't expect anything, which is probably why they should be considered the wild card in all this. Is that we should all look at the Bengals and be like, since we don't expect anything, this may be the year, like this might be the year that they finally do something. But yeah, to me that's big news. I feel like that's sad news and happy news at the same time. So hopefully but the thing is, it's good for ratings. I can only imagine for the first fucking time in years, you're gonna have people tuning in to watch the Browns play. Like, how crazy is that? Just to see the combination, of Maker to OBJ, like just to see that, Maker to Beckham, like, wow, big, or Mayfield to right, Mayfield to Beckham. So it's like, oh my gosh, that's gonna suck. So guys, now it is time for the Batshit Crazy Award of the week, and this week I gotta tell you, it's just gotta be a fucking ridiculous thing. I heard this story this morning and I was sort of like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Okay, so according to BBC News, police in Slovenia have accused a woman of cutting off her hand with a circular saw with the help of her family to make a fraudulent insurance claim. The 20-year-old and a relative have been detained and face up to 8 years in prison if convicted. I heard about this story. So what happened was, what they said, she and her family or whoever got this idea that she could cut her hand off with a circular saw, right? While, claiming that there was an accident while she was cutting branches or something like that. And then they could rush to the hospital and basically, leave the hand at home, right? Leave the hand so that way that they can't attach it or anything like that, and rush to the hospital to get her sewn up and everything, and basically be able to claim, a fraudulent insurance claim off of it. So it's like, okay, that was dumb as fuck, but it gets dumber. So authorities went to her home, from what I heard, and to retrieve the hand that was left behind, and found it, right? And probably obviously noticed that the place where the hand was left, and the lack of evidence that corroborated her story of what happened, exposed the lie that they were framing everything as. And it's like, oh shit, man, I can't believe, like, if you're gonna do something that stupid, that crazy, cutting your fucking hand off to get some money, I don't even know how much money she would have got, like hundreds of thousands, I don't fucking know. But if you're gonna do something that stupid, millions, I don't know. You gotta be smart about it. You would have to mutilate the hand. You'd have to fucking throw the hand somewhere where it couldn't be found. Like, how do you leave it at home somewhere where it can easily be retrieved? Like, how do you do something so stupid? Like, if you're gonna do something stupid, do it the right way. Don't do it in such a fucking dumb way. Don't. Oh my gosh, I'm more mad at the execution than I am at the idea. The idea was dumb as fuck. I get it's wrong. It's dumb. It takes advantage of, insurance companies. But let's face it, they're assholes anyway. But still, the point is, if you're going to do something this devious, this stupid, to have some sort of get rich quick scheme, you gotta think it through. Like, how do you not think this through? Because I gotta tell you, if I was helping her do this type of thing, I would be like, bruh, you gotta dispose of the hand, like, before you bleed to death. Let's just think this through. You gotta take the hand. You gotta not even just take the hand. If you're saying that you're cutting branches or doing something with a circular saw, right? Then actually do it. Actually do it. I'm not saying actually cut your hand off while doing it. I'm saying cut some branches. Cut a whole bunch of them. Let there be no fucking doubt that you were actually doing the thing that you were lying about. You know what I'm saying? Actually do it. So that way you're not even lying when you said you were doing it. The only thing you're lying about is the fact that you're cutting your fucking hand off with the circular saw. So it's like, I get, so it's like, bruh, you gotta be smarter than this. I can't roll with you if you're this stupid. You gotta be able to think this through. It's simple. This is like stage 1 shit. Like, you know, a little kid would say, you know, what if the police see that there's nothing here? You know, and just see the fucking hand. Like, you know, and lose the hand. You know, make your life easier. Make your life so fucking easy. Lose the fucking hand. You know, I get that people say, well, you know, if you lose the hand, then you know what happens if you get caught, you know, and everything, and now you're out of a hand and you don't get the money. But the way I see it is, if you lose the hand, you can't prove that I'm lying. So, you know, throw that shit in a dumpster somewhere, and you should have had another person on the team or something. Like, you know, if this was a movie, I'd be like, you know, and this will be the scene where the cousin Joe Schmo, you know, takes the hand and drives 30 miles to a Taco Bell and throws it in the dumpster or something like that. You know, like, damn, dude, how did you fuck this up, man? And to make, all right, so I don't know how you might view this part, but like, the authorities retrieve the hand, right, and they bring it back, and she gets it sewn back on. So, okay, so she gets it sewn back on. So you got your hand back. I mean, now you're gonna be in some fucking deep shit, but you got your hand back, you know. So it's like, fucking A, man, I can't believe that. Like, I'm very disappointed in the execution of this, because this should have been a story that went, woman cuts her hand off with a circular saw and gets such and such money from insurance, you know. Like, that, it should have been the story. That should have been it. Like, hey, you know, days after they got various different insurance, different insurance for their blah blah blah, for whatever, this happens to this lady, this accident happens, and she gets such and such amount of money. That should have been the story, you know. So while everyone is, you know, raising their eyebrows because it sounds so shady, it's still a fucking epic story. You know, everyone would know that this doesn't sound legit, but hey, clearly no one's able to prove them wrong. So it's a happy ending to this story. You know, it's like she gets her money and everyone's chilling all on the beach somewhere. You know, like that's a good ending to the story. But no, you're too stupid. You left the hand at home. Dumb ass. You left the bloody fucking hand at home so that authorities can go there and check to see what was going on and retrieve it. I don't even know how that works. Like, are they allowed to just go into your home? Like, how did that even work? Did someone let them in? I mean, I don't know how the law works out there, but just saying, it was a dumbass fucking move either way, no matter how you look at it. So yeah, you get what's coming to you. You deserve what's coming to you. If you're gonna be fucked up, let that be a lesson to everybody. If you're gonna be fucked up and do something wrong, do it the right way. Alright, everybody, so that's it for me today. And I will talk to you guys next week. And yes, stay in touch. Go to batrocity.com for any new episodes. You can follow me on Twitter, Batrocity. It's spelled with a 0 for an O. Same for Instagram. And I will check with you guys later. Have a great week. Enjoy it.